and welcome to the A-List. I'm Jordan Manis, and my guest today is Ted Brunson, the host of WGN Chicago's Best. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Jordan.
No problem. So, what school did you go to acquire your knowledge of TV and everything to go on WGNs?
I grew up in Florida for my first 20 years or so, and I went to University of South Florida in Tampa. And I was originally a musical theater major on scholarship, and then left that and moved over to mass communications and journalism. And so got my degree in mass comm and journalism, and then I don't know how much I learned in school. No, I learned a lot in school. But and then I moved up to Atlanta and interned at CNN and worked for TBS Sports and did some stuff there for a couple of years, and then packed my car up and moved to Chicago without a job or anything. But I love the city, and this is where I've been for the past 19 years.
Wow. And you say you've done everything. Can you describe everything?
You mean in TV?
Yeah.
Well, I really have done, I think, just about everything. I mean, we're talking everything from pulling cables to being a gaffer and a grip to a camera person. I still produce as a co-producer of the show. I've done technical directing, I've directed, I've produced live events, live sporting events, just about everything, because, I ran the local cable channel, which was Channel 3 at the time, which used to be Continental Cable, then Media One, which is now Comcast, but they had a studio out in Elmhurst back in the mid-90s, and I was the production supervisor. So to get everything done, you kind of have to know how to do everything. So that's where I learned most of my stuff.
Okay. Well, you say you've had a okay life, a pretty glamorous life, but not too glamorous. Can you describe pretty much what you've done pretty much?
Well, sure. I wouldn't call my life a glamorous life at all, and that's not. If you're getting into television for a life of glamour, then you should probably just get out, because it's really not as glamorous. You were on a shoot with us a few days ago, and you saw that it's fun, it's busy, it's hectic, but it's not exactly glamorous. There is some notoriety with this show. Before this, I did a lot of. Up until about 10 years ago, I was not really on air much at all. I was doing producing. I was doing line producing for live shows at Fox Sports Net. I was doing a lot of production for half-hour and hour-long shows and series for a production company called New Wave Productions. And then I kind of fell into the on-air thing, where they needed a pit reporter for a boat race, and I said, sure, I'll do it, without knowing anything about boat racing, and did a crash course in that. And then the next thing you know, I broke away from full-time, and I went freelance for about 8 years, doing everything from Speed Channel to ESPN to TLC, designing spaces, to any place that I could get a job, I basically took. And then this, Chicago's Best, was a great fit, which meant less travel for me, more time with my family, local show, and full-time work, which is nice too. So, in a nutshell, that's what happened.
Okay. Well, you say you've had a couple not great jobs, but kind of crappy, as you described them. Well, can you tell us what kind of jobs those were?
Outside of television or in television?
Kind of both.
Kind of both. Well, I've pretty much have done everything. The interesting thing is, our show covers it's all food. It's at restaurants, hidden gems around the city and the Chicagoland. I have had every job there is to have also in the restaurant business. My parents owned restaurants and stores and delis while I was growing up. So I did everything from bussing tables to washing dishes. I bartended for 8 years in college and out of college. In television, there are a lot of jobs that are not a lot of fun when you're in the lower level of television, because you're trying to work your way up. I think the hardest thing, I don't think any job was really bad or crappy per se, but I would say that if you really want to go anywhere and you want to do anything in the business, you need to learn every aspect of television. And a lot of times that's not fun. A lot of times you're pulling cables, late night, because you're shooting till 2 a.m. at a dirt track for Speed Channel, out in the middle of Missouri, nowhere. But you're still making TV, which is what you like to do. So, yeah, a lot of non-glamorous jobs, but that's what's fun,
Yeah. Well, would you say that you had a lot of fun doing Chicago's Best, and you still have as much fun?
Chicago's Best is the most fun I've ever had in television. It is, well, first of all, it's nice because it's a show that I don't have to, well, I help produce it. And I think just in the little bit that you've known me, from what you see in person is pretty much what you see on camera. So I take my personality in real life and I just bring it in front of the camera. And we just have fun with the owners and chefs and the people who come into the restaurants. It is definitely the most fun I've had at a job. And the crew is amazing as well. So.
Would you say you're pretty much lucky to be in Chicago's Best because it's one of your favorite jobs?
Sure. Yeah, it's my favorite job I've ever had. And I definitely feel lucky, and I think the most important thing to remember at 42 years old is you should really never take anything for granted. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people who could have had this job that I have. So I do consider myself lucky, and I take nothing for granted. And every day I go to work, I feel lucky to be there and put my best foot forth every single time, because if there's one thing I've ever learned, and if anyone should ever retain anything that I've said in this entire interview with you, is that everyone is replaceable. So if you go into a job, any job, but especially in television as far as I'm concerned, if you think that you are the only person who can do that job and you start to get cocky and complacent and think that you are the best, then you're going to be replaced. And so I always remember that and stay relatively humble at all times, because yeah, I do feel lucky just to have the job. It's great.
I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
Would you want Chicago's Best to go national?
Well, I'm very happy with where the show is right now. And the show's only been on for, well, a little over a year. We've done 38 shows in a little over a year, which is a very aggressive production schedule, especially considering the staff that we have. It's kind of a skeletal staff. We really only operate with about 6 people doing the entire show. There's a lot of post-production, as you know. We edit 5 packages per show. Going back to your question, sure, it would be great. I think there's enough interest across the country in Chicago where people come visit and people have family here and people are from here, where they would want to know where to go. We are in the talks of putting together a second show, and it's unofficial. We're still waiting for the green light, but we're in talks about doing a national version of, say, for lack of a better phrase, America's Best Bites, along the same format as Chicago's Best, but all across the nation. Wherever the Tribune has stations, we would go to those cities and do the same type of show. So we're looking at that, which is kind of daunting and a little frightening just because it would be so busy, but it's also very exciting. But as far as Chicago's Best, people here in Chicagoland love the show. They're embracing it. We get more fans on Facebook every single day, more emails every day, and it's gaining popularity, so I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I'm one of those fans.
Good. You didn't really know the show before you talked to me, did you?
No,
but your dad knows the show, right?
Yeah, my dad had watched it and told me it was very good.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that you. Well, you got to go on a shoot with us too, so
yeah.
I think you're kind of a little more close hand and have a little more personal ties to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it a bit more now.
Yeah, you're just gonna show up to shoots and try to eat all the food, aren't you?
Maybe.
Yeah, I would. I mean, if I were you, I'd go right at it, man. 10th grade, sure. Yeah. You have the appetite of a horse, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, you said that you've persevered during life. Can you describe how?
Wow. Well, anytime you go through life, you're going to have people who support you, and you're going to have people who tell you that you can't do it. And you're going to get down on yourself sometimes, too, when things are not going so well and you're not making enough money. And, I have 3 children. I was married for 10 years, and I have 2 children with my first wife. I'm married again. We have a child. We all live a very happy life, but there are times in your life where you feel like, wow, I really should be doing something more. Am I doing the right thing? And then there are certain people who are saying to you, you're never going to make it where you are. So perseverance is such a key quality to have. If you just believe in yourself and you keep moving on, it's going to happen. There were some very lean years for a while where the economic strife that we went through as a country affected everyone, including myself. I lost several jobs, a lot of racing series that I was covering because they didn't have sponsorship, and I was down to being basically being a stay-at-home dad while my wife worked for a while a couple of years ago until Chicago's Best came along. So yeah, perseverance it's an easy thing to say that you have, and it's an easy thing to talk about. It's a lot harder to do it. But the one thing that I always remembered is what my grandfather told me years ago. And he said, you know, it's really easy to smile and be happy when things are going well. But the measure of a true man is someone who can smile when things are going horribly wrong. And that's one thing that I always try to remember is life is never really that bad. And if you just keep plugging away, things will work out.
Okay. Well, we have some video footage from the shoot I went with you on last Wednesday.
Is this incriminating footage? No.
I don't think I was there
good.
for that.
It was a fun shoot at New Rebozo, right?
Yeah, New Rebozo in Oak Park.
Yes. Now, had you ever eaten? You had never eaten here before, right?
No, but I heard it was very good.
And you're a fan of Mexican food.
Yes.
This is a great place. I had been to New Rebozo several times. There's Jordan, our cameraman.
Ironically with my name.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of easy to remember, right?
Yeah.
That is Chef Paco. He has had New Rebozo for 19 years. Right there, he is rolling what is cochinita pibil he was putting together, which was pork inside of a tamale type of thing. That is a enchilada with his mole sauce, which I wish you would have tried because it's unbelievable with 40 ingredients. It's got a hint of chocolate and spice and real authentic Mexican food. It's just a great place. And Chef Paco, as you know when you met him, not only does he make beautiful and tasty dishes like that, there's the cochinita pibil, the pickled onions on top. It's just phenomenal. But he's just a great guy. You know, he's just a really good guy. And that's the thing that I love about our job also, is you meet so many great people. I don't just eat good food, but I meet so many nice people.
Such as Chef Paco.
Such as Chef Paco. And we all know what Chef Paco says, which is, oh my God. Everything he does, he walks around and says, oh my God. You know, we just have a good time and hang around and have a couple of cocktails and some food, and there he is saying, oh my God, you have to taste this. He's got more energy than probably anyone I've ever known at a restaurant.
He can take the heat.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's what makes him a success, you know? You talk about a positive attitude, and there we are getting a little close, right? As he's cinching up my apron like he's putting on a corset. I don't know, I'm a 32 waist. I guess he thought I was a 27 waist because you really tighten that thing up pretty tight.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's Ted Brunson. But it was fun. He's a great guy, and that, you know, it's like you asked about perseverance. He came from Mexico not knowing anybody, and he bought that restaurant, which was just called Rebozo, and he made it the New Rebozo, and for the past 19, 20 years, it's been a huge success. So I love to see stories like that, you know.
So who would you say are your biggest fans? Your family?
I would like to think so. My wife is my biggest fan. She's very supportive. She's an unbelievable lady. Yeah, my kids are fans, and I think my kids are fans. They're 12, 9, and 2, and they're all boys. And I think that, you know, my 12-year-old is my biggest fan because he's been on the show a couple of times. Oh. So that makes him kind of happy. My 9-year-old as well, he's been on. Yeah, the 2-year-old, I mean, you just put on Diego and he's fine, you know what I mean? But no, the biggest kick I get is we're very active in Facebook, and we have approximately 13,000 Facebook fans and growing every single day. So I like any fan. Any fan of the show makes me happy because it means they're enjoying watching the show, and it means I get to have a job. And I'm not as concerned about fans, you know? I mean, I like to please the people, and I like to put on a good show, but what I'm concerned about is just making good TV and enjoying my life, you know? Fans are not really... if you look for the accolades, then you're looking for the wrong reason, like I said at the beginning of this interview. You know, just enjoy what you do, which I do. We have a great time.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but that's all the time we have. And thanks for joining me on A-List, Mr. Brunson.
My pleasure.
I'm Jordan Manis, and thanks for watching.